girls? Good morning. Good morning. It's freezing here. My Marco Polo is not working, so I cannot send a notification in the Sharecast because it is not working. Getting on my nerves, this Marco Polo these days. Anybody else having troubles with getting it to work? All right. Well, good morning. Thank you, Cindy, for covering for me yesterday as I had to go to the orthodontist. Both myself and Marin had an appointment. We had to be an hour and a half drive away, so we had to leave at we left at 6 to get there for our early morning appointment. And I had to get my teeth scanned, and Marin had to get her last consult to determine surgery or no surgery. And she needs surgery, but only if she chooses to. She can live with what she has, but it's not great. She has what's called third-degree jaw. So her jaw has grown at a late age instead of stopping when she's like 13 or 14, which it's supposed to. It continued to grow, so she had braces, and then her jaw grew forward. So none of her teeth touch except the front two. The front two hit, but none of the rest of her teeth touch. But the surgical procedure, okay, to fix that, we had to wait for her jaw to stop growing to determine if she could have the surgery, which she can. Do you know what they do? They go in and they saw your jaw above your teeth all the way, pull your teeth basically out temporarily, move them forward, and attach them with slanted plates to your jaw. So now your teeth and all your jaw is forward, and then they attach it to braces for a year to heal. Doesn't that sound like fun? She's opting probably not to do that and just to live with it. It just means that she'll probably break some teeth as she gets older and might have to have some implants because the only place her teeth touch is in the front. How the kid chews is beyond me. All the way around, there's a separation like that much. How she chews, I will never know. But she says it doesn't hurt. She's not concerned with the way her jaw looks. And so she says, I'm just going to live with it. I vote for live with it. Oy, really, Lois? Yeah, I've watched some videos about this surgery, and it is serious. If it was impacting her ability to eat or breathe, or then maybe. But they talked about at first moving her bottom jaw back a little, but it would impact her airway because of the way her neck is shaped. So, no. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Oh, you remember one live where I was putting on my belt and my pants were unzipped? Probably not only one live like that out there. All right, enough of my chatter. Let's jump into devotions. It's December 3rd. Paul speaks to the crowd, Acts 21:37 through 22:23. As Paul was about to be taken inside, he said to the commander, May I have a word with you? Do you know Greek? The commander asked, surprised. Aren't you the Egyptian who led the rebellion some time ago and took 4,000 members of the assassins out into the desert? No, Paul replied. I am a Jew and a citizen of Tarsus in Cilicia, which is an important city. Please let me talk to these people. The commander agreed, so Paul stood on the stairs and motioned to the people to be quiet. Soon, a deep silence enveloped the crowd, and he addressed them in their own language, Aramaic. Brothers and esteemed fathers, Paul said, listen to me as I offer my defense. When they heard him speaking in their own language, the silence was even greater. Then Paul said, I am a Jew born in Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, and I was brought up here and educated here in Jerusalem under Gamaliel. As his student, I was carefully trained in our Jewish laws and customs. I became very zealous to honor God in everything I did, just like all of you today. And I persecuted the followers of the way, hounding some to death, arresting both men and women and throwing them in prison. The high priest and the whole council of elders can testify that this is so. For I received the letters from them to our Jewish brothers in Damascus, authorizing me to bring the followers of the way from there to Jerusalem in chains to be punished. As I was on the road approaching Damascus about noon, a very bright light from heaven suddenly shone down around me. I fell to the ground and heard a voice saying, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? Who are you, Lord? I asked. And the voice replied, I am Jesus of the Nazarene, the one you are persecuting. The people with me saw the light, but didn't understand the voice speaking to me. I asked, What should I do, Lord? And the Lord told me, Get up and go into Damascus, and there you will be told everything you are to do. I was blinded by the intense light and had to be led by the hand to Damascus by my companions. A man named Ananias lived there. He was a godly man, deeply devoted to the law, and well regarded by all the Jews of Damascus. He came and stood beside me and said, Brother Saul, regain your sight. And that very moment I could see. Then he told me, The God of our ancestors has chosen you to know his will and to see the righteous one and hear him speak. For you are to be his witness, telling everyone what you have seen and heard. What are you waiting for? Get up and be baptized. Have your sins washed away by calling on the name of the Lord. After I returned to Jerusalem, I was praying in the temple and fell into a trance. I saw a vision of Jesus saying to me, Hurry, leave Jerusalem, for the people here won't accept your testimony about me. But Lord, I argued, they certainly know that in every synagogue I imprisoned and beat those who believed in you. And I was in complete agreement when your witness Stephen was killed. I stood by and kept the coats they took off when they stoned him. But the Lord said to me, Go, for I will send you far away to the Gentiles. The crowd listened until Paul said that word. They all began to shout, Away with such a fellow! He isn't fit to live. They yelled and threw off their coats and tossed handfuls of dust into the air. Paul reveals his Roman citizenship. Acts 22:24-29. The commander brought Paul inside and ordered him lashed with whips to make him confess his crime. He wanted to find out why the crowds had become so furious. When they tied Paul down to lash him, Paul said to the officer standing there, Is it legal for you to whip a Roman citizen who hasn't even been tried? When the officer heard this, he went to the commander and asked, What are you doing? This man is a Roman citizen. So the commander went over and asked Paul, Tell me, are you a Roman citizen? Yes, I certainly am, Paul replied. I am too, the commander muttered, and it cost me plenty. Paul answered, But I am a citizen by birth. The soldiers who were about to interrogate Paul quickly withdrew when they heard he was a Roman citizen, and a commander was frightened because he had ordered him bound and whipped. Paul before the high council, Acts 22:30-23:11. The next day, the commander ordered the leading priests into session with the Jewish high council. He wanted to find out what the trouble was all about, so he released Paul to have him stand before them. Gazing intently at the high council, Paul began, Brothers, I have always lived before God with a clear conscience. Instantly, Ananias the high priest commanded those close to Paul to slap him on the mouth. But Paul said to him, God will slap you, you corrupt hypocrite. What kind of judge are you to break the law yourself by ordering me struck like that? Those standing near Paul said to him, Do you dare insult God's high priest? I'm sorry, brothers, I didn't realize he was a high priest, Paul replied, for the scriptures say you must not speak evil of any of your rulers. Paul realized that some members of the high council were Sadducees and some were Pharisees, so he shouted, Brothers, I am a Pharisee, as were my ancestors, and I am on trial because my hope in the resurrection of the dead. This divided the council, the Pharisees against the Sadducees. For the Sadducees say there is no resurrection or angels or spirit, but the Pharisees believe in all of these. So there was great uproar. Some of the teachers of religious law who were Pharisees jumped up and began to argue forcefully. We see nothing wrong with him, they shouted. Perhaps a spirit or an angel spoke to him. As the conflict grew more violent, the commander was afraid they would tear Paul apart. So he ordered his soldiers to go and rescue him by force and take him back to the fortress. That night, the Lord appeared to Paul and said, Be encouraged, Paul. Just as you have been a witness to me here in Jerusalem, you must preach the good news in Rome as well. The plan to kill Paul, Acts 23:12-22. The next morning, a group of Jews got together and bound themselves with an oath not to eat or drink until they had killed Paul. There were more than 40 of them in the conspiracy. They went to the leading priests and elders and told them, We have bound ourselves with an oath to eat nothing until we have killed Paul. So you and the high council should ask the commander to bring Paul back to the council again. Pretend you want to examine his case more fully. We will kill him on the way." But Paul's nephews, his sister's son, heard of their plan and went to the fortress and told Paul. Paul called for one of the Roman officers and said, "Take this young man to the commander. He has something important to tell him." So the officer did, explaining, "Paul, the prisoner, called me over and asked me to bring this young man to you because he has something to tell you." The commander took his hand, led him aside, and asked, "What is it you want to tell me?" Paul's nephew told him, "Some Jews are going to ask you to bring Paul before the high council tomorrow, pretending they want to get some more information. But don't do it. There are more than 40 men hiding along the way, ready to ambush him. They have vowed not to eat or drink anything until they have killed him. They are ready now, just waiting for your consent. Don't let anyone know you told me this," the commander warned the young man. Paul is sent to Caesarea, Acts 23:23 through 35. Then the commander called 2 of his officers and ordered, "Get 200 soldiers ready to leave for Caesarea at 9 o'clock tonight. Also take 200 spearmen and 70 mounted troops. Provide horses for Paul to ride and get him safely to the governor Felix." Then he wrote this letter to the governor. "From Claudius Lysias to his excellency, Governor Felix, greetings. This man was seized by some Jews and they were about to kill him when I arrived with the troops. When I learned that he was a Roman citizen, I removed him to safety. Then they took him to their high council to try to learn the basis of the accusations against him. I soon discovered the charge was something regarding their religious law, certainly nothing worthy of imprisonment or death. But when I was informed of a plot to kill him, I immediately sent him to you. I have told his accusers to bring their charges before you." So that night, as ordered, the soldiers took Paul as far as Antipatris. They returned to the fortress the next morning, while the mounted troops took him on to Caesarea. When they arrived in Caesarea, they presented Paul and the letter to Governor Felix. He read it and then asked Paul what province he was from. "Cilicia," Paul answered. "I will hear your case when my accusers arrive," the governor told him. "When your accusers arrive." Then the governor ordered him kept in prison at Herod's headquarters. Oh, right. I had to think for a minute. Where was my devotional? What am I doing? I forget. All right. We are doing Joe Campo's devotional. Where is it? Wednesday, right here. Sweet Cindy, in all of her kindness, sends me the link every day so I don't have to go hunting. She's so wonderful. All right. Today's word is listen. Today's reading is Isaiah 64, 1 through 9. "Oh, that you would rend the heavens and come down, that the mountains would tremble before you. Oh, look on us, we pray, for we are all your people." I stood atop a white powdered ridge and listened. A group of friends and I were cross-country skiing through Yellowstone National Park on an early March afternoon. Pine trees towered above us, clumps of snow dropping their massive branches. We had worked our way up the hill and then paused at the crest to catch our breath. Winter beauty stretched in front of us. We were totally alone. "Shh, listen," whispered a fellow skier. "Listen for what?" I wanted to know. There was nothing out here to listen to. No people talking, no dull, continuous roar of traffic, no people clamoring. In the silence, I didn't hear anything. "Stop talking and listen." "I'm not talking," I protested, though I realized that by voicing my objection, I was, in fact, talking and creating unnecessary sound. "I'm listening, but I still can't hear anything. There's nothing to hear." "You will. Just be quiet and listen." Listening is hard work. It takes concentration. It's demanding. It requires all your energy and complete focus to block out all the distractions. It's why we're generally so bad at it. Hearing noise is easy. Talking is simple. But listening in silence, that's an entirely different matter. I shifted my weight on my skis, impatient and frustrated that I could not hear what I was supposed to be hearing. "Hold still." I contorted my face as if scrunching the muscles around my eyes would enhance the ability of my ears. Wait, what was that? It sounded like an intermittent whooshing, barely discernible, so soft it was hardly distinguishable from the breath of air rustling through the trees. "What is it?" I whispered. "Look up." Far above the treetops, I spotted an eagle. The barely audible sound was coming from its wings as they beat against the breeze. I will always remember that moment. An incredibly majestic creature was producing a sound so quiet it was nearly impossible to make out. And only the fact that I was in such a noiseless place and had forced myself to be quiet and listen had made it possible for me to hear. God tends to be a very quiet voice in the middle of a noisy world. It can feel as if it is hard to hear him. More often than not, we would prefer a God who would act in far more obvious ways. God's habit of hiding in the shadows and speaking in a whisper amid the racket of our world produces in the racket our world produces can leave us disappointed and confused as to why he insists on being so timid and quiet. You can hear the same frustration boiling over in Isaiah's words. The people for whom he writes are at their wits' end. Everything is in tatters. They are desperate. Collectively, they can remember a time when God seemed so much more personally involved in their plight. A pillar of cloud leading their ancestors through the wilderness, the walls of Jericho tumbling down, Jacob wrestling in the middle of the night with a stranger who turned out to be God, who then blessed him and gave him a new name. It all leads Isaiah to plead with God for something dramatic. Trembling mountains would be nice touch. Heaven split wide open would leave little room for debate from God's enemies or his friends as to his power. Raging fire and boiling water would do the trick. A little help down here, God. At one point or another, we all know how that feels. You may have prayed, but deep down, where you're afraid to admit it, it just seems like you're talking to yourself. You ache for whatever reason you care to name, and the only thing you ask is that God would make himself known in the pain, but nevertheless, God remains elusive. We all have moments like that. Nothing wrong with admitting it, nor does it indicate lack of faith. Only a relationship that means little or nothing is unaffected by what the other does or does not do. Why won't God act in the way he's supposed to and do what any self respecting God would do? Show up in power, wow with wonder, mesmerize with majesty, rip open the skies, come among us in undeniable ways so anyone could say, yep, that's God all right. But he rarely seems to work that way, at least not for me. God speaks most often in whispers rather than shouts, and sometimes those whispers are incredibly soft. If he were noisy, we wouldn't have to listen. If he were conspicuous, we wouldn't need faith. If he didn't need to be quiet, if we didn't need to be quiet, we wouldn't bother to detect his voice. Isaiah goes to great lengths in these verses to own up to the fact that our acts are like polluted garments. Even as we are prone to bemoan God's silence, still no one calls your name. But in verse 8 comes one of my favorite words in all of the Bible, yet. In the Bible, yet or but is often followed by hope. This chapter of Isaiah ends by reaffirming our identity as belonging to God. Even though Isaiah doesn't roll back his opening desire for something dramatic from God, nevertheless, amid the frustration and sadness and complaining, he shares a deep reassurance. God is present, and we belong to him, and it was and will never be, never not so. God is present and we belong to him, and it was and will be never not so. In those moments when you think God cannot hear you or is not speaking to you, perhaps it simply means stop fidgeting and listen more for the quiet beat of his wings in the silence. I think of a line from that best of Christmas carols, how silently, the wondrous gift is given. Reading this passage near the beginning of Advent serves as a reminder to prepare ourselves for just such a quiet coming of God into the world. There'll be an angel choir singing to shepherds in a field, but that will be the sum total of special effects. The rest of the event will take place on the floor of a barn through a teenage girl with a dirt poor husband beside her. There will be no cable news updates, no procession of choirs and candles, no blinking lights. It will consist simply of a God who quietly put on skin to save us from ourselves. If God does not always offer a display of trembling mountains or heaven split wide, he does come to us in less bombastic ways. A little child, bread and wine, the sick and the poor, those with whom we live. It's the promise of this season. The Lord is coming, and in the quiet you will hear his wings and feel his heartbeat. Let me grab all right, let me. I don't know, Meredith. I hate notifications. I agree. I had a dentist suggest having that kind of jaw surgery to push the bottom teeth back and be wired up. No, thank you. I will live with the issue. Yeah. Same. Faith. I mean, it's not debilitating right now. Maybe someday it will be. And if it is, if it bothers her and her ability to chew, then someday, if she chooses to have it done, okay. But right now, I don't think any of us have the mental capacity to handle it. It's a big deal. Donna, did you hear back after your lymph node surgery? Have you heard back on the results of that? I haven't heard yet. Okay, let's go ahead and pray. God our Father, we thank you for this day. Thank you for our time together and for the reading of your word and the reminder of the love that you have for us, and the reminder from our friend Joe that we should listen, to be still and listen to your voice, God. And I think most of us are not well practiced at that. I know I am not. And I just pray that you'll help us with that today. Help us to be still and be quiet and listen to what you have for us. God, I continue to lift up my friend Karen and my friend Donna to you as they, with their cancer journeys, just ask for continued strength and clarity and healing. God, I also lift up our friend Pam to you and thank you that her healing is taking place. I pray for continued healing for her and continued strength, and that you would just create in her health, God, and that she will just get to a place where she is feeling 100% and not dealing with all of these issues that she's been dealing with for so long. God, we also pray for our friend Joe. We thank you for him and his willingness to let us share his amazing devotional and the wisdom that he brings to us through his words, God. And I just continue to pray for him and his move and his journey with his foot, and just ask for continued answers and clarity and strength for him and his family as they go through this. God, help us today to make choices that honor you in everything we say and do. In your precious name, amen. Okay, 2 weeks before you hear back. That's a long time. Don't you think in 2025 we should be able to have an answer before we leave the office? Is it just me that feels that way? Is it not? Is it just me that feels like if you go to the doctor, you should know before you leave the office? Like, it's 2025. We can create videos that people can't even tell if they're fake or real anymore. The whole world is deceived by stuff in an instant, but yet we can't read a test result before 2 weeks. It's just me being cynical, but I think it's nuts is what I think. All right, my loves, I have to go. Got to get my workout on. Got to walk a little bit before because it's been cold here and a little misty, and I'm being wimpy. That I'm finding it a struggle to get out and walk in the cold. I can't find my gloves. I have my mittens upstairs. I need to get them down. I've lost my hand warmers. How does one go? This house is not that big. I can't find my hand warmers anywhere. And so I've been defaulting to walking on the treadmill at the gym because it's warm. But next week, this time, I will have to begin walking outside because I will have a little Winnie Boo Boo that I have to walk. All right. I can't wait to introduce you guys to her next Monday. I'm excited. We go pick her up Sunday. All right, girls. I love you so much. Hope you have a fabulous day. Today's not Monday. I just had in my head for a minute that today was Monday, and I was just about to tell you to don't forget Zoom tonight, but today's Wednesday. So it's less than a week before I pick her up. Never mind. I literally just thought it was Monday for a minute. My whole day just shifted. All right. I love you, girls. I hope you have a fabulous Wednesday. How did we decide on a female puppy? Because she was the one they posted pictures of. And they didn't have any males anyway. Karen, sorry. We've never had a female, and we always said only boy dogs. I don't know why. But then I saw her, and then I was like, oh, maybe we do want a female. Because she's so sweet. Oh, I have a playpen being delivered today, and a kennel, and little buttons to train her to talk with, and a bed, and I have enough supplies for a newborn baby coming today from Amazon. All right, girls, have a great day, and I will see you all back tomorrow morning on Thursday.